eyes look to me now must justify my father's faith in me. Rule as he would have wished.
At any rate, we must begin.
There is none yet to control the...
In the matter of the bed,
Your resources are small and your hazards are many.
Daeron Targaryen, he's a claimant to the throne. You're going to have to kill him.
You may not rule and remain yourself. There is in you a door that must shut. You will do things that your heart would have recoiled from.
I dispute that I must become what I am not.
Time will tell.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 3 trailer video. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs, references, WTF moments, so we will break it all down. They've finally taken the Red Keep in the Iron Throne back, so Rhaenyra can actually sit on the Iron Throne now. When you really think about it, Rhaenyra has been the heir this whole time since she was a young girl, but never actually physically sat on the Iron Throne. So many other people have sat on it except for her until now. It was only in Daemon's visions that we saw the younger Rhaenyra and older Rhaenyra sitting on it before this. HBO has not said what the title of the episode is. Weirdly, when they release the episodes on HBO Max and HBO every night, they don't tell you what the title is. It still says like episode 2 till like after the episode is done airing. Then they'll tell you what the title is. It's totally weird. You don't need to do that, HBO. Just tell us what the title is when you drop the episodes. My assumption is they do this, they don't release the titles early because the titles themselves give away some of what's happening in the episodes, even though we have a pretty good idea based on like the next time on trailers anyway. For the most part, this trailer just focuses on Rhaenyra's first day as the sitting queen on the Iron Throne, learning about all the problems in King's Landing that she now has to deal with that the Greens were dealing with before she took over. Even though she's finally claimed the Iron Throne, she has not won yet because the Greens just left her with a whole mess of problems, and the small folk are not happy, and they're gonna blame her if she doesn't fix them real fast.
I'm also gonna need you to go ahead and come in on Sunday, too, okay? We lost some people this week, and we need to sort of play catch-up.
So the episode is going to start showing how things aren't going to be easy for Rhaenyra, like she isn't swooping in and being this grand savior and there are no more problems ever again. There are a lot of problems she has to deal with this season. Turns out being a king or a queen is actually hard. Turns out it's a lot of paperwork and a lot of pushing money around. They start the trailer with her sitting on the Iron Throne wearing her father's crown. It's also Jaehaerys' crown too. Her father took it from Jaehaerys when he became king. Jaehaerys is the one who created it because he didn't want to wear the crown that Maegor wore, which was his father, Aegon the Conqueror's crown, and that's the one that Aegon II is wearing. My other assumption now is that they were saved by the Triarchy fleet, is that Aegon got his crown back, so they probably still have his crown now. It's made of Valyrian steel. It is worth a lot of money. Don't let that get out of your hands. You also notice in the throne room, Luther Largent in his gold cloaks are still presiding as her acting Queensguard right now. All the people here are getting ready to petition her. They had a scene like this with Aegon II after he became the sitting king, where you just had to listen to people's problems, where they would petition the king like you would normally do on a day-to-day basis. Viserys had to do this before them too when he was still king. It is basically the boring paperwork side of being the ruling monarch in Westeros. Corlys is standing here because he is also her hand of the king still, so he's presiding over this with her. My assumption is that most of the people here are going to be complaining about how there's no food because of the blockade that Corlys himself was enacting. It was the whole reason why the Greens hired the Triarchy to try and break it so that they could get more supplies into King's Landing. But now Rhaenyra has to deal with all those shortages that she herself kind of led to. She ordered Corlys to create that blockade, so she was the reason for a lot of these shortages. Normally, the easy way to fix that when she took over as the ruling monarch, when she sat on the Iron Throne, would just be to pay for a bunch of food to be shipped into King's Landing, but the problem is the Greens used a lot of the money, if not all the money in the treasury, the crown's treasury, to hire the Triarchy to break the blockade, so now Rhaenyra doesn't really have any money to pay for food to bring into King's Landing, which is going to cause all kinds of problems. All the small folk are going to blame her now if they go hungry. They cut these scenes with her having a conversation with Daemon inside the king's chambers, which are now the queen's chambers. Like she's living in the room where her father used to live, where Aegon was living, where her father's massive Lego set of the Valyrian freehold is. And you notice the look on her face. She's gotten a little sleep here, like she doesn't have the dark circles around her eyes, but she still starts to have kind of a crazed look on her face. In the way that Emma Darcy, the actress who plays Rhaenyra, talked about this, said that it's kind of a religious fanaticism aspect behind her rule now, where she believes it's preordained, it's destined. And a lot of this is on Daemon, too, for gassing her up, using Daenerys Targaryen and the weirwood visions that he had from the Three-Eyed Raven, talking about the destiny that her father told her about, the Valyrian dagger, the prophecy, Aegon's prophecy. So one of the dangers now for her is that she's steering way harder into the religious fanaticism side of this. We get a couple cool shots of different angles of her sitting on the Iron Throne. In the books, it's said that it actually cut her, but you actually see her kind of gripping the swords here. Maybe this is how she gets cut a little bit. We'll see if that happens. Daemon then says, "At any rate, we must begin." All of her different retainers and the administrators, the people that help run the castle, tell her about the shortages, how they basically have nothing, no supplies, there's no food, there's no money to pay for things, there's just no way to run the castle in a normal way, so they have to solve all these minor problems, but it's also happening all around King's Landing. She doesn't even have a single day to just enjoy herself as the queen. There's a really quick shot of her stepping over a rat carrying a piece of an apple here. That also reminds you of Blood and Cheese because Cheese was a rat catcher. Several different hands over different administrations, different monarchs have had different ways of getting rid of the rat problem in the Red Keep. The Red Keep has always had a bit of a rat problem. During the books, Otto Hightower even released a whole bunch of cats. But I think the rat is meant to foreshadow the banquet that she's having later in the same dining hall that we saw them all eating in, the Greens and the Blacks eating together when Viserys was still alive. We get a real quick shot of her in the small council room around the table with Corlys and Mysaria. She becomes the new Mistress of Whispers. Corlys is still her hand. This is basically her presiding over her first day as queen. So they're basically going around the table trying to explain what they need to start doing now that she's actually taking care of the city and as actual sitting queen. A whole lot of paperwork that needs to be done, a whole lot of busy work.
We need to talk about your TPS reports.
Then they cut the scene of Daemon talking to her about Daeron Targaryen and his dragon Tessarion, the Blue Queen, and how Rhaenyra is going to have to deal with her. Daemon's basically trying to convince her to kill Daeron because he has a claim to the Iron Throne, like she needs to kill Aemond and Aegon II. She already talked to Alysanne about killing Aegon II, and she was kind of giving her permission to also kill Aemond eventually, too. Alysanne knew that Rhaenyra was probably going to have to kill Aemond at some point, so she's made peace with that, but Alysanne was hoping that Daeron would be spared this because that's why she sent him to Old Town in the first place, to foster with her family at the High Tower. But the problem now is that we found that Ormund Hightower, who was the son of Hobart Hightower, Otto Hightower's older brother, who was the Lord of House Hightower. So Ormund Hightower is now the Lord of House Hightower, basically turned Daeron into his glorified squire. So Daeron is now in the middle of the fighting, and they're using his dragon, which is exactly what Alysanne did not want. And because of that, he is now on Daemon's radar and therefore on Rhaenyra's radar. But it kind of seems like Daemon also has to talk her up to this too. She's not ready to start hacking and slashing away at every single other Hightower. But the crazier thing here is that you see Daemon show up with Caraxes in Silverwing in the background, so he has at least one of the Dragon Seeds, if not both of the Dragon Seeds here, facing the Hightower army. You also notice Tessarion, the Blue Queen, is posted up here with them too, but when they bring out the quote-unquote Daeron Targaryen, it's a silver-haired person who doesn't look anything like actual Daeron. It's a totally fake version of Daeron. Even Tessarion is confused by this. Look at the weird sounds that she makes when she sees this fake Daeron. What are you doing? Who is this person? We actually saw real Daeron in episode 1. He has dark hair. Also, his face looks completely different. Maybe Ormund is just betting that Daemon has never seen a picture of Daeron, so he won't know the difference. Oh no, this is a completely different person. We'll see if Daemon is fooled by this. When they come to meet in the middle here, you also notice Bold John Roxton comes with them too. We get a real quick shot of Ormund pulling his Valyrian sword, Vigilance, out. Maybe this is also on the battlefield here too. Everybody in the middle here, instead of this fake version of Daeron, has a Valyrian sword. Daemon wields Dark Sister, and the Valyrian sword that Jon Roxton wields is called Orphan Maker. So we get a whole bunch more Valyrian weapons right here about to throw down. Rhaenyra has this banquet with a whole bunch of people here, and notice she looks at her cup and she's kind of eyeballing all these people. She's probably trying to figure out who her supporters are in King's Landing. These are probably like the wealthier, more powerful people inside the city. Making the rat reference that she almost stepped on earlier, she's trying to ferret out all the rats in King's Landing, so to speak.
You will do things that your heart would have recoiled from.
Then we get a scene of Alysanne inside the king's chambers talking to Rhaenyra. So we get like a real big Alysanne and Rhaenyra scene for those of you that have been wanting more of that. They've done a couple over the seasons, but had like really crazy ways to try and invent reasons for them to be together in the same room. Now they don't have to create reasons because they're both inside the Red Keep. It's way easier for them to have scenes together. It is basically Alysanne worried about Rhaenyra that she's going to start doing crazier and crazier things, getting darker and darker, becoming a monster, kind of like Aemond in Aegon turned into. And she's trying to tell Rhaenyra, like, you're not realizing this, but the throne is going to cause you to do all these terrible things that you never thought that you were going to do before. And Rhaenyra completely denies it, like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I would never do crazy stuff. I'm not a crazy person. But I think part of the idea is that circumstances will push her more and more in that direction, making more hardcore decisions, and her religious fanaticism and belief, like utter faith in the prophecy of the prince who was promised, Aegon's prophecy, and how she's tied to it. So we will see how good the writers did in pacing that arc out for Rhaenyra. A really good example of them doing a bad job of that would be like Daenerys in Game of Thrones Season 8, where she goes from like 0 to completely mad queen by the end. Like everything seemed pretty decent by the end of Season 7, then Season 8 comes along and boom, she just like falls right off a cliff and goes completely mad. Hopefully the House of the Dragon writers can do a better job with Rhaenyra and provide a much more complex portrayal of why she winds up doing a lot of really, really messed up stuff. We get a couple scenes of her with Daemon in bed. We haven't really seen them in bed that much over the course of the show. Like, they do get it on a lot, especially when they were younger. But in more recent seasons, in more recent years in their life, if you're talking about the timeline of the actual show, they've actually had a pretty big wedge between them, so they've been apart quite a bit recently. What's probably happening now is in the days that they've just taken the Red Keep is he's like one of the closest people that she can depend on, and she knows that she can rely on him for a certain number of things, so she feels closer to him in this moment than she did before. So a lot of the drama between them over the past couple of seasons is water under the bridge because what's happening right now is like such a bigger deal. But you did notice during episode 1, she started to seem like she didn't care as much what Daemon thought of what she was doing. I do not require your approval. But she still does need Daemon and his dragon. We get another scene of her pulling down all the Green's banners, basically anything that belonged to Aegon or Aemond, and she's going to be burning that later in the trailer. But also, it looks like this is the ceremony when they're going to knight all the dragon seeds. But during the scene, 2 of them look at Ulf White like something really shocking happens, so maybe this is just more driving a wedge between him and Rhaenyra and Daemon, because in previous episodes, Daemon seemed like he really hated Ulf White, and it just seemed like Ulf White was starting to hate Daemon and Rhaenyra now too.
For having ideas.
No, Your Grace.
It's not clear who Rhaenyra is meeting with in the throne room here. It's a little too small and blurry. This might be a Septon. And we get the scene of Rhaenyra burning all of Aegon and Aemond's things, all of the green things, and Alysanne telling her, well, we'll see how things turn out. We'll see if you turn out to be a good person, or if you do wind up becoming the Mad Queen and doing like terrible things. For the most part, they just want to let you know that this is like early days and things are not looking good for Rhaenyra. Like, she has a really, really long road ahead of her if she wants to actually stay the sitting queen. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below, and let me know if you spotted any Easter eggs or references in the trailer footage that I didn't talk about in the video. My full episode 3 video will post next Sunday night after they release it, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everybody click here for that video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for all my other House of the Dragon episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.